everybody. I am going to be reflecting on week 9 materials. So some of my lecture takeaways here are that therapists, they often engage in implicit bias towards clients of color, with 41 to 83% of clients of color reporting at least one racial microaggression in therapy, with the most common forms of microaggression being avoidance, minimalization of cultural issues, and kind of a dismissive approach from the therapist. So according to one of the readings say that clients who were unsatisfied, this is referring to the article, the research article here. Clients who were unsatisfied with their therapist in that experiment were usually, were unsatisfied due to perceiving the therapist as dismissive and displaying microaggression. So this is absolutely a contributing factor into the progression and clients' ability to establish rapport with their therapist. So in addition, is that people often use a dismissal approach as a way to handle what's referred to in the lecture cognitive resistance. So I did take a stereotypes and prejudice class as an undergraduate, and it was concluded in various research that when people have an intensive cognitive load, or when they're under cognitive load, that they are more likely to engage in the use of stereotypes and prejudiceness as a way to conserve brain energy. And so because seeing people at an individual, deeper, more genuine level requires more cognitive resources, people often will resort to a dismissive approach in an unconscious attempt to, save, cognitive resources or just manage those in the situation that they have. Which is ultimately not effective. So because it was stated in the readings and lecture that dismissive behaviors can contribute to clients feeling detached, less engaged in therapy, and just their view of their overall therapist is just, it's not, the therapeutic alliance is lacking in those groups. So it's important that we must acknowledge differences between groups and within groups, according to the lecture. Why this is important is because we should be recognizing that every individual has a culture, and that's going to have an impact on the way that they think, the way that they behave, and the way that they process information. Certainly relating to relational ethics and things like that. So it's important that we recognize these cultural influences, but we don't let these cultural influences create a detrimental view of the client. It's not a definitive explanation for why they are behaving or thinking the way that they are. It's just the first step to kind of understanding that individual and where they come from. So therapists must do more to explore the individual differences. Some of the reading takeaways that I had here was that according to the article, like I said, the majority of the majority of satisfied participants indicate that whatever racial, ethnic, or cultural differences did exist did not adversely affect therapy because the therapist was culturally responsive and able to work through any conflicts and misunderstandings that arose. So this takes a level of confidence from the therapist, a level of disclosure from the therapist in order to communicate with the client effectively. And along these lines, the researchers were surprised to find that therapists' cultural confidence was actually not associated with treatment satisfaction, whereas cultural incompetence, behaviors like suggesting lack of cultural awareness, was associated with treatment dissatisfaction only. So the findings shed light on the fact that it is important for the therapist to, be transparent about their level of cultural competency with honesty and integrity, and that's going to allow for the facilitation of a more genuine connection that holds greater opportunities for connection between the therapist and the client. So some of my video takeaways from the TED Talk here is that it was interesting when they gave the example of how people's perceptions of Pat kind of shifted when they figured out her name was Patricia. And so it's important that we are not coming up with preconceived expectations about an individual based on just limited amount of information. This really sheds light on why it's important to explore the family of origin and the individual differences that contribute to why individuals behave and think the way that they do. At the same time, like I mentioned above, culture is just, or before, the culture is just the first step to understanding an individual, but it is absolutely necessary to examine further. So, for example, personality disorders are by definition patterns of behaviors that deviate from cultural expectations. This is incredibly important when we're assessing individuals and providing treatment plans. So, I think that the Week 9 materials really do shed a light on the reasons why it's important to consider culture and then also investigate further to gain a better understanding and build a more genuine therapeutic alliance with the client. Thank you for listening.